Hello everybody, my name is Suzanne Tempel. I'm one of the co-founders of the Phoenix Fellowship, and we have international program on spiritual development, healing, mediumship and personal development. And today I am here with two lovely ladies, mediums, with Libby Clark and Sally Barnes. Now Sally is an international medium. She's also an approved tutor on the Art of Findlay College, and she's a certificate holder of the SNU. So welcome, Sally.
Good morning, nice to see you.
And nice to see you too. And we have Libby Clark, and Libby is also an approved tutor on the Art of Findlay College. She's also an international medium, and she's an officiant of the Spiritual National Union. So welcome, Libby.
Hello, good to be with you.
So it's lovely for you to have agreed to join me. And today we're going to talk a little bit about mediumship development, your personal experience, and of course about the courses that you have within our 2021 program. So Sally, can I start with you?
Yeah.
For those who do not know you, who are watching, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your mediumship development and how you came into mediumship?
Okay. How I came into it is quite interesting, really, because I'd always been interested in the paranormal, always believed that there was another life after this life. And some people might call it a chance meeting, but I actually met somebody when I went to buy a bunch of flowers, and they started talking to me, and they turned out to be a medium. And at the end of the conversation, they said to me, "You do know you're a medium?"
Really?
And I said, yes. I knew with utter conviction, there was no question, but I didn't know I knew it until that question was asked.
That's interesting.
And it's like from that moment, life just changed. Everything made sense. Everything I'd experienced made sense. And I walked away from that chance encounter or encounter that was meant to be on cloud nine. And because I suddenly thought, oh, I know why I'm here now. I know why I've experienced everything that I've experienced. And so from that moment on, then I did everything I could to find out where to go, to learn more, to develop more. And I started out by finding out about local spiritualist churches. And I went for an evening at a local spiritualist church. I was very shocked because I was the first one that evening to get contact.
Really?
And I know it sounds terrible, but I can't remember who the contact was. But the message was very significant. And the message was about my journey into mediumship, and that I should have been doing this 20 years prior to when I started.
So how old were you?
Sorry?
How old were you at
I
the
was
time?
36 at the time. And I could then look back, and I recognized, because they said to me twice, Spirit tapped on your shoulder and said, come on, we'd like you to work. And I knew exactly the two occasions, exactly. I didn't even have to think about it. And so it was really quite exciting. And then it wasn't very long afterwards that I heard about the Art of Findlay College. And I thought, oh, you know, that sounds interesting. You know, I'm green, but let's go along and see what happens there. I had to save 2 years. I cleaned people's houses to collect the money together and put it in a money box in order to be able to go. And then I had my first visit there, and I'm sure Libby will agree, and yourself, once you've been there, you can't not go again.
Yeah.
So, and I, like so many people say, the moment I walked in those doors, I felt I'd come home.
Yeah.
I felt I had waited all my life to walk through those doors. It was the strangest feeling. And so it was just many years, really, of going to the college. I could only go once a year for many years, but I went to workshops locally to where I lived. I went to services and evenings of mediumship to watch and to listen and to gain knowledge. And yes, I worked hard. I worked really hard because I was so wrapped up. It was as though I'd come out of a desert and had found water, is the best way I often describe it.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't get enough. I did go overboard a little, that I admit to. You know, I wanted to eat it, sleep it, drink it. But I did eventually learn to pace it and to take my time and to look at how things were going. But I suppose if I look back, yes, I did lots of other things. I was never without a development group. One would finish and somebody would ask me to go into another one. Yeah. So I was very lucky in that respect. But I would say perhaps the majority of my growth and my development came from going to college.
Yeah.
But also talking to other people, you know, in my local area about their experiences, and just sitting talking with a lot of people actually was very beneficial, because it opened my mind, and it opened my mind to the possibilities and where this could go.
Yeah.
So it was all very exciting.
Yeah, I totally get that. So
yeah.
From the moment that you walked into or met that lady, prior to that, so you were 36, prior to that, yes. you had two experiences, but you didn't see spirit from childhood on, like?
Yes, I did. Yes, going back, because when I realised I was a medium, it surprised me that I hadn't realised it before. Because I used to see spirit as a child. It used to scare me, but it was just a normal part for me. I learned not to talk about it too much, because I could see the look on people's faces. I could see their concern for me. And one particular memory is when I was 8 and I was laying on the school playing field on the grass with some friends. And we were looking up at the clouds, making faces and pictures out of the clouds. And I don't know where it came from. I didn't even know what I meant. But I turned to them all and said, "You do realise this isn't all there is?" And they said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, what we can see and touch and hear isn't everything." And when they sort of said, "What do you mean?" I couldn't explain that any further. It was just what I said. I used to see them. I used to hear my name being called so often. I would wake up hearing whispering in the room as though someone was having a conversation. I would often at night see people walking across the foot of the bed. And I used to think, oh, am I imagining this? And then I have a twin sister, and we used to share the same bed. And one night we were chatting and messing about and laughing. And I saw this figure walk across the foot of the bed, and my sister went quiet. And then and I'm going slowly sinking under the covers. And she looked at me, she said, "Did you see that?" And I said, "Yes." And I thought, yes, I don't imagine these things, I do see them.
Well, that was good confirmation.
Yes. And the other thing that used to happen, and I didn't like, and I did ask for it to go, and it did go, is I would sometimes be with people and I would know that they hadn't long left in this world. And but I didn't like that, and I don't get that anymore. So I had loads of experience, but it was always my passionate interest in it. And I used to hold seances in my teens.
Really?
And no one taught me how to do it, but with the alphabet around the table.
Yeah.
And I used to do it, and we used to have success. And I knew to be respectful, I would say an opening prayer and a closing prayer. And but even then, it never occurred to me that I was a medium. I actually didn't know what a medium was until I saw the film. When I saw the film, when I was about 17, 18, I saw the film Blithe Spirit. And that's when I learned, oh, that's a medium.
Yeah.
But I certainly it never occurred to me that I was.
No.
Yeah.
The whole concept at that moment is totally non-existing until you learn about it, and then you recognize it, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Yeah.
Thank you. And Libby, how was that for you?
I had seen spirit from being a child, but I learned to be quiet about it because my mum did not approve in any way, shape or form. And every time I mentioned anything, it got me into trouble. And the one that I remember is our next door neighbour was, in those days, an elderly lady, probably not much older than I am now, really. But we used to go around with my mum, and I'd get a glass of orange squash and a pink wafer biscuit. Woohoo! And I used to go and just sit and listen to them chatting away. And this particular day we went round, and they were sitting talking, and then I said, Mrs. Townrow, what's that funny colour on your leg? And she went, what funny colour? My mum said, what colour? I said, well, it's not on your leg, it's sort of near your leg, it's like in the air. And my mum told me to shut up.
Yeah.
And I kept, yeah, but I can see it there. And in the end, mum did what she usually did, which was hit me, which made me shut up. About 2 hours later, we were back home and an ambulance pulled up outside, and Mrs. Townrow was taken into hospital with a massive blood clot in her leg.
Oh.
Wow.
And in those days, you went from hospital to a recuperation place and convalescent home, that's what it was called.
Yeah.
And we went to visit her. So, of course, me having the usual big mouth that I've got said, that colour's not there anymore. I shut up. But then when I got to 16, my dad started going to a spiritualist church in Nottingham. And he was going through a lot of stress at the time, business-wise and home-wise. And he became a much calmer person. So then it was a case of, what's going on with you? And Dad said, oh, well, I've been going for healing at the church. What do you do? What do you go for? He said, come with us. No, I'm not going to sit there and have a toffee crisp wrapper float out of the light fitting. No, I said, I don't want to sit in the dark. And he said, there's no dark. There's lots of flowers and it's really nice. He said, I'll tell you what, if you come with us, we go to the pub for a drink afterwards and I'll buy you a drink. So the only reason I ever got involved in spiritualism was I was offered a free drink. Went along, and immediately as we went in, it felt very comfortable. You know, the standard saying, I came home. The medium came to me, but the thing was, I could see the people she was talking to in spirit. And I knew that she wasn't giving all the information that they were giving. And I found it quite frustrating. It was like having half a conversation. So I got told that I should be a medium and that spirit were waiting for me to get on with it. And then they said something that got me into a lot of bother with my family, because I had just failed a set of exams on purpose. I literally sat with my answer sheet in front of me and I doodled on it for 4 hours. I didn't write anything other than my name and my number, because my boyfriend of the time said if I got more qualified than he was, he'd finish with me.
Oh dear.
So I decided, well, if I don't pass, I won't be more qualified and he'll stay. We're all idiots at times. But that was how it was. And then as we started kind of getting more involved, the medium told me what I'd done. She said, I've got a sheet of paper here. I can see there's flowers drawn all up the side of it. There's a big eye with one tear. And it was like, oh my God, she actually was looking at my answer paper.
Really?
And even down, she even said the last 3 numbers of my number. And it was like, oh, my dad was fuming at the side of me, and I got into trouble. I didn't get a drink that night. I got took straight home. But then I started going with Dad, and it just felt right. So over the next sort of couple of years, I went along to church. I got involved in healing and things there, but I couldn't get into any development circles or anything because they were all so much older than me. When I asked, I was told, come back in 5 years.
So how old were you?
16. I didn't know if I was going to make it to 21. So, you know, I mean, when someone says 5 years to you, when you're 16, it's like, that's forever.
Yeah.
So I found a couple of places, but I would go to workshops and things in the church, and they couldn't stop me going to the open circle because that was open to everybody. And then we started going to the pub after church, and I ended up, the landlady in the pub used to come out with trays of sandwiches for us, so that we'd sit longer and I could do a reading for her. So that's where it all started. And then when I was 17 and a half, I couldn't get to Nottingham because that was 2 bus journeys from where we lived, and I didn't have the money to go. So I decided I would try one of our local spiritualist churches, one of the little places nearby. No idea what it was like, never been there before. And I did what most people would do. I went in at the very last minute before they started, and I sat on the end seat nearest the door with my back to the wall. So if I didn't like it, I could get out.
Yeah.
So far into the service, I mean, it's a tiny, this was at Kirkby church. It's a tiny little church. I think it might seat 30, 35 people. The platform was almost as big as the church floor. But the medium came to me and said, I'd like to speak to you. So I did what everybody does. I turned around
Yeah.
to have a look to see who she was talking to. And she said, no, you, the young lady there. My guide is telling me that you're taking the service here next Monday. Pardon? You're taking the service? I said, no, I'm not a medium. I can't do that. And she said, I'll come and have a word with you after the service. So I thought, fine, the second we've finished, I'm out the door. I didn't know 2 old ladies could move that fast. Before I'd gone like that to get out of my seat, they were standing in front of me. And please, Spirit are telling us, you have got to take the service here next Monday. Find somebody else, because I can't do it. I've never done it. Well, as it happened, the next Monday I went back. And she said, we knew you were coming. I said, yeah, but get somebody else to do the service. I can't. No, come on. We'll help you through it. And I took my first service at 16 and a half.
Wow.
Came off the platform, and at the end of it, and she said, have you got your diary? We'd like to book you again. No, I haven't got a diary. She said, well, when are you next free? I haven't got any. What's a booking? What do you do with it, you know? But from there it started, and I served little local churches. And really, I was so lucky. I count myself so fortunate that the Nottingham church that I went to was run by 2 young guys, and they were really looking forward. They were really go ahead. They promoted things well. So we would have literally the cream of the crop of mediums and healers within the UK would be at our church on quite a regular basis. Gordon used to come about 6 times a year. So we'd have Gordon, Glyn Edwards, Coral Polge would come with the Spirit Art. I'm trying to think of some of the names, Jean Bassett, you know, any of the big names, Robin Stevens, they went there.
So it sounds like a really good start of your spiritual development. Have you ever considered giving up during your development because of things that happened? And
a couple of times I have thought about it. I got extremely hurt emotionally and mentally by something that someone did right back in the very early days of me making the decision to become a medium full-time. And it devastated me that anybody could do that to me who I thought was a spiritual person.
So did they mention anything for you about your mediumship?
Yeah, they said that I was, at the time they said that I'd gone as far as I was going to go. I wasn't going to ever be able to work at the college or anything like that, and that I was a fraud with my trance work.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And it just completely, I lost all confidence. And I said, that's it. I closed my circle. I'd stopped. I was still doing church services, but I wasn't doing nearly as many. And then slowly I kind of came back into it again.
Yeah, but this is so important to hear. Students need to hear this really, because a lot of students have had comments for a long time about fellow students, but also of teachers. Yes. About who they were supposed to be, or what they should or shouldn't do, or what talent they had or hadn't. So that's really important for them to hear. So Sally, what was the worst advice you were ever given?
The worst advice I was ever given, it kind of comes into the answer of the question, what is my biggest regret?
Yeah.
And it ties in a little bit with the story that Libby's just told. And I don't know that it was actually advice as such. It was something I was told very similarly, that people were talking about me, that I was hopeless. And then the worst one was somebody telling a lie. But I don't know that I can actually think of a particular incidence of the worst advice. But if I tie that in with the question, what's your biggest regret? My biggest regret is listening to other people too much. Yeah. And ironically, not just the criticism, but also certainly for me in the earlier days, not listening too much to those that would big you up as well. Yeah. Because both are minefields of hindrance to your standing in your own power and learning to assess and learning to know for yourself and trusting yourself in knowing how your development's going. And yes, of course, listen to guidance, of course, listen to encouragement, and of course, listen to constructive advice. But at the end of the day, we have to learn to trust ourselves.
Yeah.
And not put that trust in other people, to trust ourselves, but also to place that trust in the spirit world, our spirit teams.
Yeah.
Because yes, we learned, like we're tutors at the college, students come, they learn from us, we can teach them techniques, we can give information, but at the end of the day, the true development comes with the blending of you and your spirit team and those from the spirit world. So
so would that also be the best thing you've ever learned, or the best lesson you've learned?
The best lesson I've ever learned is the one where I came to learn that when we come into the work of mediumship and to work with the spirit world, I often say to a group of new students, so you think you came into this to be a medium? And of course everyone's going, well, yes. And I go, no. Equally important, if not more so, is the journey back to you. Is the self-development, self-knowledge, the self-healing, the knowing yourself, and to learn to accept you, to learn that you're not just, so like for me, I'm not just Sally Barnes. I'm not just a human being, a figure in this world. I'm a soul, I'm a spirit, and I'm a part of that power. And I have to be honest, it was a good, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years into my development before that finally clicked into place. And I know Libby's the same, you know, where the self-knowledge, the self-healing and development has to be a part of this. And I know most, you know, all the tutors I know would advocate this anyway. But for me, that was the most important. And the most important to learn that we are no more than anyone else. But for me, the biggest lesson to learn was I'm no less than anyone else. And I think that's the way for most people. It's that self-esteem, that self-love, that is the important thing that we have to learn. So we're standing in our own power and not allowing outer influences to manipulate us. Because as Libby said, and I've certainly had instances where the outer influences have manipulated me in such a negative way. However, we could also look back at that positively because we're stronger for it.
Yes, absolutely.
They've been good muscle builders.
Well, this is one of the reasons that we offer courses also on consciousness development and personal development within the Phoenix Fellowship, obviously, because sometimes that part is neglected and they're focused on mediumship techniques, so to speak. But that alone doesn't develop you.
Exactly. You know, when I look back, I wasted so much time comparing. So that is my biggest regret, wasting time comparing myself to others. Wasting my time trying to emulate others, trying to be as good as this person or as good as that person. I suppose it's easy to say it was wasted time. It was a lesson needed to be learned. It just took me a bit longer than maybe some people. But, you know, and I'm sure Libby would agree, we can use the benefit of our experience to talk about this to other people. However, what I still find is, it doesn't matter how much we say it, that people will still go through this process at their own pace.
Absolutely.
Because they're not ready to take that on board just yet.
So Libby, how is that for you?
I think from my point of view, the way that spiritualism and spiritual development has changed in this last sort of 15, 20 years. I've been a working medium over 40 years now. And I've seen such a difference. So many of the students that we have now, although it is changing back, I have to say, but so many of the students that we have, they're coming, we used to say they used to come to the college to learn. And we went through a time where they were coming to the college to be discovered. And it was almost as if they were coming through the doors going, oh, you know, I'm a medium and blah, blah, blah. And they would say, oh, well, I do this and I do this and I do this. So you'd get them up to work. Oh, I don't know why it's not working today. And from my point of view, I have always said that we must understand ourselves first. How can we hope to know spirit if we don't know ourselves? And part of my training, my background, was that I learned a lot of personal development, self-confidence, different techniques, different personal strength abilities, and ways of building it. And I actually used to run a personal development course at the college that they stopped because they didn't feel it was necessary at that time.
Oops.
It's a very important aspect of developing mediumship, is that aspect of it.
And you have
can't
to
not
be
do it.
No, you have to be a strong person, because if you're not, they will grind you down. They will, people will get to you. And something that I don't think mediums realise enough, I was talking a little while ago to somebody who's in the entertainment industry, And they were saying that they were sick and tired of feeling like everybody's personal possession, like they belonged to everybody. And in a way, it's the same with your mediumship. People will then approach you to talk to you, to ask you things that they wouldn't go and ask somebody in the street. And they will kind of make comments about things that they wouldn't do to somebody that they've never met before. And I think we need to, in a way, teach our students to be more holistic, to be more of a complete person, because there are those who go through, as I said, wanting to be found, wanting to be discovered. They never really make it.
So what was your, or was it a conscious decision for you to become a professional medium, or did that grow?
I had been asked numerous times by Gordon Higginson to come and work at the college, and I couldn't because I had a full-time job. I worked for, at that point, Rover Cars, and I ran a fleet sales department, so I couldn't just take an odd week off here and there, and I'd got a young family, so I kept saying, no, I'm not ready, I'm not ready. And then I'd always been in management, and I'd always had quite high power jobs in that sense, and I got made redundant for the 3rd time in 5 years because companies were being bought out. They were finishing all the management, and at that point I just thought, what the heck's going on here? And I had never applied for a job and not been offered it, so suddenly I couldn't even get an answer to my letters. And Bob and I were talking one night, and I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how we're going to manage. And Bob said, well, the thing is, you've got a job, you're just not doing it. What job? Your mediumship. Well, that's not going to pay the bills, is it? That's not going to keep the roof over our head and feed the girls and buy everything we need. And Bob said, why don't you give it a go? You've got nothing to lose. So I said, fine, I'll give it 3 months. And Bob said, no, give it 3 years. And I was like, how long? But I started, and I have to say, at the end of that 3 months, my diary was full for the next 2 years.
Lovely.
Once I made myself available.
This time goes right.
It just, Libby, can you come and do this? I know this is short notice, but are you available for that? Will you do this? Will you do? And in the end, it was kind of, I did what I think most mediums do. I did too much. You know, we have colleagues who are working, 45 weeks out of 52 in the year and wonder why they're feeling shattered. I won't do that. I love my work, but it's not all that I am.
No. Well, that's a good thing. You need to balance in your life, right? So Sally, can you talk us through a little bit on the course you are organizing, the Wonders of Spirit and Mediumship?
It's going to be a course where we are exploring, which they all are anyway, but we're going to explore using all sorts of different techniques. We're going to work with colours, with tools, and we're going to look at communicating with spirit world, healing. We'll look a little bit at the older states, but I want it to be a fun course. And working with Libby is always fun.
Yes.
So I want it to be a fun course where people can come along and where they feel absolutely, oh yes, come on, let's join in with this. And we're going to work too, not just with the mediumship and the communication, but also what we talked about, helping people to learn to trust in their own power, helping them to just let go and do it. And so where we will have group sessions, we'll have tutorials or talks. We will also sort of look at each person as an individual to see where we can help them. And you know, because yes, we do need to learn and understand about mediumship, how it works, how the communication works. So we'll be doing that through things such as colour, through all sorts of different exercises.
Nice.
But really, we also need backing that. We need the self-assurance. We need the self-confidence.
Yeah.
So, you know, like Libby, I myself worked as a therapist for many years. And so it helps so much in this work as a teacher, because you can be with someone and you can just feel, you know, what avenue they need to go in order to help themselves. You can intuit that. But it also helps us to know how to help that person. And what I mean by that is, are they someone that needs a little bit of a push? Are they someone that needs that gentle coaxing?
Yeah.
You know, so you can see that beautiful look of surprise on their face when they manage to do it.
Yeah.
And so it's an individual based thing as well as a group thing.
Yeah.
But lots of exploration, and all we ask people to come with is that openness, is making that decision. Okay, let's go, let's do this, let's not worry about what other people think.
Yeah.
Let's not compare myself to the person next to me. We want them to go away with a sense of trust in that it is absolutely, I'm going to say absolutely okay, but absolutely necessary to be who they are.
Yeah.
Because then the mediumship that's unique to them can flourish.
Nice.
And that was one of my biggest lessons thinking on that. Is and I could tell a story, but I won't, because it, you know, it'll take too much time. But it took me many years to realise, unless I was content to be the medium I am, I wasn't going to go very far.
Yeah.
And I'm not joking. The day I sat down and thought, I'm fed up with doing this to myself, I'm going to be me. I'm going to be myself. I'm going to be the medium I am. I'm going to be the teacher I am. And since then, I'm literally within a couple of weeks, the calendar's just full.
Yeah.
And it was as though the universe was waiting for me to make that decision.
Yeah.
And that's a part of what we want to do in the week. But doing it through exercises that are fun, that are different. And so, for example, even if we're going to work with colour, it may be that person will never go away and work with colour. But if colour is something that can open a door to that power for them and help them, then fabulous.
Yeah.
I've got lots of ideas swimming around in my head, and there's a session I like to do, which I call the old ways.
The what? The old ways?
The old ways, which is using things such as sand, as runes, as bones. Because I'm also a great believer that if we look back in our genetic heritage, and we look back at the times where power was suppressed by organised religions, etc., who knows, even if we just play with some bones, we might not go on and do anything more with that, but it could open a door.
Yeah.
Because there's so much that's been pushed down. So all sorts of things to open the doors to that unique mediumship sitting innate within the student.
So who is this course for? Is this for beginners or intermediate or advanced or mixed?
It's for all levels. And the reason I've done that is because when we're, I use the word loosely, playing with all different techniques and exploring with all different techniques, what I've come to find myself is, even way along the line in my development and way along the line in my work, even going back as far as just only a couple of years ago, I was playing around with one of these techniques and I felt it open something. And so I do believe it doesn't matter how long you've worked, how much you've done, how much knowledge or experience you've had, we should always give ourselves the opportunity to increase that, or to open those doors even further, or to broaden our horizons.
Yeah. Actually, we never stop learning, do we?
We don't.
We never stop developing and learning.
No. Yeah. So I've left it for people of all, I don't like the word levels, or I prefer all experience. And I know Libby's great at that too, you know, and we can adapt to the, like I said, to the individual. And we can take one exercise and say, right, for a beginner it can be this way, but for someone that's far more experienced, right, let's try this, let's see where this can help. And I love it. I would love to go to classes where I could try different things and explore.
That's been the most fun for me, experimental things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's to help them to just open but to come with an attitude of freedom. But also to, what do I want to say? Also to help them walk away with the courage and the trust within themselves. So they're not looking to this person for approval, or they're not taking on board any strong criticism they might get, but to take all of it, but to take it to themselves and go, does that feel true for me?
Absolutely.
And to trust in their own power.
Yeah.
So,
lovely.
yeah.
And Libby, sorry?
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. We are looking forward to the whole program and to that as well. Because I feel that we have wonderful teachers within the program who all first of all have a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience and are qualified teachers, but also very, very supportive tutors. And this is very important, I believe, within development. Yeah.
Good.
And Libby, you have your own course as well, the Family Day. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, when I came into spiritualism, I was still quite young. And everybody that I spoke to said, go away, come back later. And I realised that we actually don't offer anything for children. But children are the most spiritual thing that we have in this world.
Yeah.
And a few years ago at the Arthur Findlay College, I asked, could I do a family course? So we did a weekend then. And I mean, the age range was great because it was 4 3/4 to 86. And families, grandmas, granddads, aunties, mums, dads, big brothers and sisters, they all come as a family. And I work with them. Now, the Family Day, as we've been doing it, it's been absolutely beautiful because the children actually work all day long. There's not a session where they're just sitting and listening. Everything they do. I know one of the courses last year, I found some little like gel animals, like little squishy animals.
Oh yeah.
And the children went and hid them all around the venue where we were for people to find. Because it's that message of somebody's thought about you. And another one that we've done is that we have a teddy bear wishing service. So the teddy bears are put in the middle and everybody has to have a teddy bear. And they make their wishes for the world, for their family, for their friends and for themselves. And we have discussion groups and it's incredible the things that children will come out with.
Yes.
You know, you'll say, well, what do you think about such and such that's going on in the world now? And I asked the children on one occasion, what could we do to make this world a better place? And there's this little boy called Robin, sticks his hand up and goes, Libby, I know. Come on then, Robin, what do you know? He said, I think we should make everybody be nice. There'd be no wars then, and the world would be a better place. And if a 5-year-old can see it, you know, they're brilliant. We've written songs for spirit. We get them working as teams. We get them looking at their own spirituality. Last time, one of them that I did, they blindfolded the adult that they were given and had to lead that adult around the building and out into the garden and make sure they got there safely, and then talk to them about what they were seeing and what they were touching and feeling, And all of the adults came back going, wow, that was amazing. That was incredible. And I said, what was incredible about it? They noticed things and told us about things that we would pass and not even notice.
Yeah.
And they sat us down to smell this flower, or they said, be careful, there's a little stone on the path. We wouldn't even have looked at it. So to look at the world through a child's eyes. And I just love the way they all work together. And even the ones who are kind of like a bit, oh, why have we got to do this? Suddenly, there was a little girl, I won't say who it was because you'll know, but the first one that we did, there was a little girl, and I said about the meditation, and she was like, really? Oh. And she sat up. The others sat down wherever they were. She sat on her blanket on the floor, and she's like, start the meditation. And slowly you could see her starting to relax, starting to let go. And she slowly dropped backwards till she was flat out like a starfish on the blanket. And she was the last one back at the end of it. She went, that was great. And, you know, it's something that we don't teach our children how to relax.
It just reminds me, I was reading a little book last night called Kids Talking About Heaven. When you said about the little boy, have you come across it?
Yes.
When you said about the little the one saying everyone should be nice, and one of the little children wrote, my dad says that only the good die young. I don't want to die young, so what should you do? And that just tickled me.
Child logic, I love it.
Yeah, the way their minds work. Yeah.
All right, ladies, I want to thank you so much for your stories, and I know that there will be a lot of people watching who can identify with some of the things that you've gone through. And so I think this is worth watching, regardless of the information of the course. You sometimes learn more about the experience of other people and what they went through, and you can recognize that you are not the only one with the same problems, because this can be a very lonely path at times.
Absolutely.
So I want to thank you for sharing that and being open and honest. And for those who are watching, you can find our program on www.thephoenixfellowship.com. And this will be placed on YouTube for you to watch. So before I say goodbye to you, Sally and Libby, I have a question for the both of you. So what would be your advice you want to give to people watching this and who are curious about mediumship, so no experience, but they're just curious, or want to develop their own mediumship?
I think even for those that are even just feeling a curiosity, I would say take that step. Be brave. What have you got to lose? Because when that curiosity starts to stir in you, I'm a great believer that that is the soul energy saying, come on, let's look at this, let's look at this. And the only thing that prevents us from doing that is the mind, is the fears. What will other people think? People will think I'm crazy. I was labelled the White Witch from where I lived for many years. So be brave. What have you got to lose? Come and do it. Do it for yourself. And just come with an open mind. And if you find that you like it, I think as we said earlier, once you've touched on that, it's hard to walk away.
There's no way back.
But there may be those that find that yes, they do want to do it, but it's not for them right now. Won't know unless you try. Come along, give yourselves a treat. Yeah.
And Libby?
I think from my point of view, it's about being true to yourself. Not letting other people's ideas change the way that you feel about yourself. because we do live in quite a negative world. And I think once someone starts developing spiritually, once they begin that pathway, they are very sensitive. They are easily hurt. One of the things that I teach all of my students at some point is to teach them that someone else's opinion is none of your business. Just stay true to yourself, trust spirit. Yes, it will be difficult on occasions. No, it's not going to be simple and straightforward. But then I was always taught that anything worth having is worth working for. And one of the lovely things that Gordon used to say to me was, if you don't try it, how will you know how good you could be?
Exactly. And can I just add something too? You know, if you're feeling that curiosity, let that impetus lead you, because for a lot of people, it can be the misinformation, the myths, the horror stories that create that fear that stop them coming to something such as this. You know, come along and to courses, be it mine, be it Libby's, be it anybody's, wherever it's available to you, and start your journey to find the truth.
So thank you again. And I'm very much looking forward to have you on the 2021 program and see you again live.
Looking forward to it.
So thank you, ladies.